Hi everyone, we're getting very close now to finishing our first Flash game. We're messing around with Pong, and we're looking as well at Flash's coding language, ActionScript, and we're using version 3. So here's my ActionScript at the moment. At the very top of my code file, my ActionScript file, I've got some code here to place my ball at the center of the game area. I've then created two variables to store the ball's X and Y speed. I've set the speed to 10 at the start of the game. I've also created two variables to store the scores. So here's the player score and here's the computer score. And at the start of the game, both of those are set to 0. And I'm also going to update the score boxes. So these two boxes here need to have some information in them. Remember, these are dynamic text boxes. And they're dynamic text, which means the information in the text box can change during the game. Okay, that's dynamic text. But at the start of the game, we set the score to 0 and we update those dynamic text boxes with that information. So P-score at the moment is equal to 0, and that's what we'll see when we play the game. And then we go into the game loop and we start to move the ball, and then other things start to happen. So let's just play the game and see what's going on at the moment. Brilliant. Okay, it's all looking a bit basic. The code is good, but the design is a bit awful, isn't it? So really I need to think about what the game looks like, and that's another challenge that I'm going to have to face at some point. But as long as the code works, I'm happy at the moment. In today's tutorial, we're going to look at how to just kind of create a start scene, and then you can figure out how to end the game and go to like a "you win" scene or a "do you lose" scene. Okay? So let's just look at how to make a start scene, and you can figure out the rest. Right, what I'm going to do, let's just see what's in my library here. Okay, so my three objects, ball, computer paddle, and player paddle, are in the library. Do I need those at the moment? Nope. Ah, yeah. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to insert a new scene. And this scene here, let's just get rid of my code panel. Let's just look at the scene. This scene is going to be my start scene. So I'm going to design it. I'm going to have some scene content. This is my scene content layer, and all it's going to be is going to have a bit of text. Click to start. And I'm not going to spend too much time making this look pretty. Please make yours look as pretty as you want it to look. So click to start. Oh, by the way, this is a text box, but it's not going to be dynamic text because it's never going to change. So I'm just going to change that to static text. Brilliant. Okay. I'm also going to have a button, like a start button. What shape are we going to do? Let's do a round start button. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time designing it. I'm just going to change that color, which is awful. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is convert to a symbol so that it stores in my library. I'm going to call this start button. So now that it's in the library, I need to give it an instance name. I'm going to call it start. And that means I can mess around with it in ActionScript. So let's make a new layer for actions. And let's open up the actions window. Shortcut F9, okay. Alright, so let's think about what we want to do here. When I come into this scene, I want everything to stop. I don't want to jump into the next scene. Okay? So let's do Control Enter and see what happens. Oh dear. That's a bit weird, isn't it? What's going on? Let's close the game. What have I done wrong? Right. Yeah. Window, other panels, scene. Open up the scene panel. Now this scene here is scene 3. And at the moment, scene 3 plays after scene 1. But I don't want that. I want scene 3 to be the first scene. So I'm going to drag that up. It's now the first scene. So when we play the game, we start with this scene, and the first thing that happens is the game stops. Yay! Brilliant. Now when I click the button, I want to jump into scene 1, because that's the scene where the game is being played. Look, if we go into scene 1, this is the game scene. And scene 3 at the moment is my start scene. So when I click the button, I want to jump into scene 1. Okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that. Hopefully you've got access to the code that I'm going to show you. If not, you'll have to type it all out. It won't take very long. But this is the code that you'll need. I'm just going to copy this, paste it into my Flash game, and I'll try and explain it as best I can. Now, what did I call my start button? Can anybody remember? I called it start, didn't I? The instance name was start, so I'll change that. So when we come into the opening scene, we stop everything, and then we wait for an event. And the event that we're waiting for is a mouse event, and it's a click mouse event. This means wait until the mouse clicks the start button, and when this event happens, go to this function, the play game function. And here is the play game function. Okay? And it's dealing with a mouse event, which is that click thing. Don't worry too much if this doesn't make much sense, but that's kind of how it works. Now what we want to do is figure out what happens when we come into this function. Well, this is what I want to do. Go to and play frame 1 of scene 1. Okay? This is what's going to happen when I click that start button. Do you remember that start button? I gave an instance name of start. So that's important. And let's just bring that up again. When we click the start button, this happens. So let's try it. Wow! So it stopped. In this scene, the first thing, it's not the animation is not continuing. Let's click the button. What's going on? I know what's happening. For those of you who know about animation, when we play our animation, we start in the first scene, and whatever's happening in the first scene will happen. Then we go to the next scene, and whatever happens in the next scene will happen, and then it loops. It goes back to scene 3 into scene 1, back to scene 3 into scene 1, back to scene 3 into scene 1. The animation is looping around. Actually, when I go into scene 1, which is the game scene, I don't want it to jump back to scene 3. That's what's happening. So what I'm going to say is, go to and stop. Go to and stop in frame 1 of scene 1. And remember, frame 1 of scene 1 is where all of my action is happening. This is frame 1 of scene 1. And this is where the action script is. Everything's happening in frame 1. So let's play it. Now I can start the game. Alright? So it's time for you to think about this kind of stuff here, and especially this little beauty. Can you figure out how to create a situation where when the computer gets to, say, 5 points, we go to a finish scene and it says, "Computer wins! Do you want to play again?" And there'll be a button that will allow you to play again. Or, if the player gets to 5 points, the message is, you win! Do you want to play again? And again, there's a button which will allow the game to be played again. Okay? See if you can figure that out.